Hi, Scorpio. So, it's been an interesting month. Depending on whether you were stuck in an upward spiral, or you got yourself into an upward spiral, or you were stuck in a downward one, kind of determined how last month went and what the trajectory is for the next few months. There have been some embarrassing moments, but all of it has kind of been designed to loosen you up and get you to see that you're also human and that you are also very much capable of making mistakes. I think the past 2 months, I'd say, have been very difficult that way. And you have felt it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the messages and the info that you were putting out there, or that was being put out there about you. It might go that way, but it might be both. You know, it might be something you were doing out of retaliation because of something that was done to you. Either way, if you got locked into that cycle, that destructive downward spiral of being vengeful and petty and not being able to let go of something, then you have been paying for it, and you have been feeling the weight of your words. It has all come back to you, to bite you. And that's rare for Scorpios. Usually you're the ones doing the stinging. And then the Queen of Cups and the Star, which is interesting because both these cards just came up in the Sagittarius reading. And in the Sagittarius reading, the Star is associated with what they want most and what they should be directing their energy at. And the Queen of Cups is coming up as someone that they should stay away from. And so here you guys come up as the Queen of Cups. And the Knight of Wands, which can be a Sagittarius, is here. Can also be an Aries. Can also be a Leo. It's someone who approached you with very good intentions and had nothing but the best in mind for you, and you hurt them. I'm not actually going to get that. So, I'm being very much a Scorpio right now, right? I'm just going to ignore that. And so, the Queen of Cups and the Star. So you come up as the Queen of Cups. That works. Because it is a time for you to be thinking about... Hold on one second. Sorry about that. So, what I was saying was, I like that you come up... I'm going to show you these cards. I like that you come up as the Queen of Cups because it is a time for contemplation for you. And a time to figure out if you were a negative influence in somebody's life. Someone who was open with you and honest with you. Why? Because you are thinking about it now. You are wondering why you've done some of the things you've done, because you're feeling it now. And I think you're beginning to wonder if it's worth it to hurt people. You know, this card is just as much, it applies to the person you hurt as to how you're feeling now. It reminds me of that study I read about how people who are tortured have long-lasting scars for sure, but the people who were doing the torturing have just as much psychological trauma and for just as long. And that really applies here, because whether you are the one who has done the wounding and is currently wounded, or is currently wounded and will do the wounding, doesn't really matter. It's this dynamic that we were talking about last month, the spiral. You know, the nature of this downward spiral is always here, and the nature of our upward spiral will always bring you here. And there have been sincere people who have met you as you spiral up and down, you know, and you have dragged them to the depths of hell with you, except you're built to love that and use that energy and come back out, but you leave people down there. And they have no idea how to get back out. And they desperately look for lifelines. You know, you hear it all the time. I can't get over a Scorpio. I don't know what he or she did to me. I'm not sure why I can't feel that way with anyone else. I'm not sure if I can ever recreate that sort of connection. You hear all that. And what they're really saying is, you know, it was all fun and exciting to be down here in the dark, in the depths, as long as this person who's used to living down here was holding my hand through it. But then that person left and left me down here to navigate through a completely alien world. You know, being in a Scorpio's inner life is like being on an alien planet. If you are not about that Scorpio life, you don't understand that place. Oftentimes when people say, oh, how do you understand Scorpio so well? It's that Cancer rising, or else I'd have no clue. You know, water understands water. And in this case, I think that's also something to look at, because signs who are not water, signs, for example, that you can very easily extinguish, how do I say it? You do. Those that can easily be killed off are killed off. It's real survival of the fittest with you guys. Super competitive, you know? And that brings me to my next point here. A lot of times you guys work your way up and down this spiral because of other people and the way you want to appear to other people. And it can be really tied into money. We've talked about that before. But it can also be a sort of like spiritual gloating. It can be like gloating in terms of happiness. It's a general like wanting to throw things in people's faces, especially when you're doing well or you're happy. And I would just say be careful, because I just want you to look at what your motives are when you're doing things. Even in terms of like work, even in terms of career, even in terms of your friendships, what's your motivation? Like, why are you doing the things you're doing? Like, if you're being petty, why are you being petty? What's the reason? You know, and if your reason is simply, well, that person hurt me, I don't know if that's a good enough reason anymore. You know, I'm not saying you have to grow past that, but I am kind of saying you have to grow past that, because, you know, it's your choice, but I understand that, you know, Scorpios love the depth, but okay, so it could very well be a Leo. And someone who just wanted to move really fast with you, which, you know, is a mistake. You let the Scorpio move fast. You don't move fast yourself. And still there is the promise here of something very positive. And that could lead to wonderful things. So if you are in a relationship that you really believe in, and you are perhaps using that relationship to rehabilitate your sense of self, and really paint yourself as a new person and a nicer person and a kinder person, first, you need to resolve this situation. This is probably something that warrants an apology. A real one. You know, if this is a work situation where you've done this to someone or someone's done this to you, then perhaps it doesn't warrant an apology, but some sort of a truce needs to be called here energetically. So you can move forward with what you want and what is very obviously attainable for you. I mean, you're already queen in the water, you know, ruling over the water. This person is using that same medium to get what she wants. A lot of synchronicity there. And then, you know, that manifestation becoming a reality, finding its way, you know, through the passion and through the action into the explicate, into the reality. And yet, you know, this sort of vanilla sky guilt persists. You know, Scorpio, when you've loved people kind of mercilessly and toyed with them, they can get a little bit hurt. And it can make them a little bit crazy. And I don't know if you want that on your conscience. And I also see that this may be something that in a completely different way happened between you and another water sign. If you're a female water sign and you're watching this because of, you know, a female Scorpio that messed with you, or if you are, as a Scorpio, dealing with a female water sign who you really made feel this way, you know, I would be careful, because all the water signs have powers of manifestation, and I think it's an issue that you should resolve as quickly as you can. Let's just take a look at that a little bit more, because I feel like there are things that you can very easily ignore about yourself, but it's just not that kind of month. You gotta like figure out how you want to look out here, because this is not a good look. Not for you and not for people out here to be talking about you, that that's how you do people, you know? It's one of those times where I feel like Scorpio's reputation is catching up with them a little bit, and like you guys need to reinvent quick. That's what I'm saying. Like, is it worth it? Like, to have that kind of a name, is it worth it, you know, for people not to be able to like really trust you? Like, that's something, like, I know the Scorpio instinct is to be like, well, F them then if they don't, you know, I'm a loyal person. No, I get it. But you know yourself that you can be shady, that you can be, you know, a little suspicious. And is that, you know, how we want to move? Is that what we want to be known for? It's okay to want to leave all this behind and go somewhere away and where no one like knows you, or, you know, like, I understand wanting to just escape from it, but wherever you go, this, you know, karma and this energy follows you. And I think it's also like that right now because you don't want this anymore. I think you're like, you know, this should be more fun. Like, I'm better than this. Like, I should be able to have more fun. I should be out here like meeting people and being more like this person that I hurt maybe, or that I took for granted. But I get that you guys are being very private right now, and you are hurt. So, you know, the cards aren't all that talkative, and I get it. The guilt of the stuff that's been going on has gotten to you. The places where liberties have been taken with your boundaries has gotten to you. But more than anything, just knowing I think what you're capable of in certain situations where you did something that maybe you know what you're capable of, but maybe you did something that even you surprised yourself, and you're like, oh man, I gotta, I gotta look at this. And what I'm saying is, don't worry, because everything is heading in the right direction, and things absolutely are gonna loosen up and get easier. The hard stuff's like basically over for now, but you need to make some relationships right. And I'm not saying get back into those relationships. I'm not saying even, nurture them or cultivate them anymore. But there are some meaningful conversations that need to be had there in terms of apology and accepting responsibility for your behavior. And finally, let's see what it is. All right, 9 of Pentacles. So in terms of money, there is what I would call like a big payoff coming for you in terms of career and work and money. And that might have already happened like in the last month, because a lot of you guys tend to be a little early. Your energy prevails. And if it's not, it's coming up pretty quick here. And this could also be someone that you are romantically involved with that has quite some money, or something has some quality that makes that person very admirable, and people are envious of that person, and that really you really like that. That's part of this whole dream for you. So good. It's good that you get to have that last piece of this little, triumvirate of things that you want. And a good positive bottom of the deck. Like, if you want to walk this road right now, you can do it. It's open for you. It's a go. It's good. But this is like an anchor, or like, concrete around your ankles. Like, this is not going to let you move into this beautiful future with a clear conscience. So it needs to be resolved. And so, speaking of this and how we get here, and what this is really for a Scorpio, and how does one recover from this sort of a setup, it makes me think of, and forgive me for the reference if you think that it's like weird. Oh, so my eye is swollen because my kid accidentally hit me with his hand when we were just hanging out. And so I'm wearing my glasses. That's why. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is in the 4th part of the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion, there is this moment where a Scorpio, Phaedra Parks, gets called out on a pretty intricate web of vengeful, schemes and half-truths and some lies that she's put together to get back at someone who she felt, betrayed her or wasn't there for her. And I suggest that as a Scorpio, you go and watch it, those 15 or 20 minutes where that confrontation happens, no matter how you feel about the housewives. Because what you will see there is the pain of a Scorpio having to deal with the reality of how you guys can be the part of yourselves that you hide from yourselves. When you have to see up close what that part of you does to people and what it feels like to be where they are because of what you did. It just plays across her face. And in true Scorpio fashion, she doesn't say anything. But you can just see, and as a Scorpio, you will feel that it is an absolute nightmare. And you can look at it and you can say, well, she deserved it. She did this and this. And I'm not saying she didn't. I'm just saying that as a Scorpio, it will be very, very cathartic and therapeutic for you to watch, because it will make you understand how important this distinction is now. Like, what's motivating me? And is it good for me? Just because something motivates you, just because something puts an electric, shock in you or a spark in you, doesn't make it good. I'm sure, and I know from watching the show, that every time she engaged in that behavior that she got called out for, she was really enjoying herself. So what are those things that you're doing that you really enjoy, that are really bad for you? And when it catches up with you, it's going to be really, really painful in a way that I don't know if you'll ever recover from. And that would maybe be dramatic to say to somebody else, but not to you guys, because you guys get hurt. You scar easy. That's why you're so mean sometimes. And to be honest, I don't think she'll ever recover from that. It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. And you know how you guys are about that. Like, watch it. Go watch what happens. So funny. That's the Bravo thing. Go watch what happens when a Scorpio gets called out there, and all your stuff, even the stuff you delude and lie to yourselves about and don't let yourself see about you. Watch what happens when that all gets put in front of you, and how helpless and painful that situation is, and how you never want to be there. Let it motivate you to really look at your choices and see what your intentions are for the things that you're doing. Because that's what's going to bring something good or bad back to you. If your intentions are to consistently and constantly help, that's all that will come back to you. And maybe that's the only way that you guys can stay safe from yourselves. Keep yourself safe from yourself. Yeah, that's it. I know, it's short, but that's what you guys needed. I love you guys. I'm leaving the links for the tickets for Oakland below, as well as my email. Email me if you would like a reading. I'm stopping the one-on-one reading soon, so if you're into that, you should probably get on top of that. And I'll still be doing recorded readings. And I'm still taking appointments for San Francisco and LA. I've extended my LA trip from the last week of October till the second week of November. And I'll be doing in-person readings all of August and September in New York. Aside from that, yeah, that's about it, I think. Watch the thing. It's in the 4th installment of the reunion. I love you guys. I'll see you in July.